Joining me on today's show On the Ice, brought to you by Pembina, source for sports. Guy St. Vincent, top shelf goaltending. Guy, welcome to the show.
How are you doing
today?
Doing good, thank you.
As we said off the camera, there's not too much really going on, but there is a lot of things potentially that not just goaltenders, but a lot of hockey players can be doing on their own. I know you've had a couple of conference calls with some of your clients, some of your goaltenders you're working with. Tell me, what is it that Top Shelf is doing currently now with the goaltenders you're working with off the ice so they can do a program at home?
Well, right now we're just trying to stay in communication with them. I think the biggest thing is to stay interacting with them, letting them know that they haven't been forgotten about. Yeah, the hockey season might have been cut short, and you kind of go your own separate ways after the season ends. But it's to remind them that at the end of the day, they are still our goaltenders. They're still very important to us. So it's just to touch base with them, see what they're doing, encouraging them to stay active, not to sit around too much. I think the biggest thing is if you sit around too much, that's kind of when you get complacent. That's kind of when you don't want to do anything else. So it's to stay active, but obviously to be reminded that our body does take a toll throughout the season, right? So this is kind of our rest time, so to speak, but an active rest time. I don't want my goalies just sitting around playing video games and watching TV. So it's to stay basically active, but having fun with it, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah, like you mentioned, this is the post-preseason entry now, because a lot of teams have finished their playoffs, and they would have been done their playoffs now. Tell me, your goaltending program, is it year-round? Is it something that you take on goaltenders throughout the year, or is it something where you set up a goaltender at a certain time of the year and then you work with them throughout the year?
No, what we do is we kind of have a few mentorship programs that we take care of. Those are kind of goalies that you've been working with for probably the last 3-4 years that really have kind of pulled you in as their whole for their off-ice training, kind of the mental aspect of the game, stuff like that. But no, it's definitely just keeping the kids active, I think, is the absolute biggest thing, because if we do too much too soon, I think we'll get very bored very quick. So it's to keep things fun, and that's what I like to share with my students is have fun. You're still a kid. Hockey season is going to be there hopefully again next year, but in the meantime, have fun with your training. Have fun with challenging yourself, getting your family involved, getting your dog involved, whatever it may be. Just have fun with what you're doing.
So let me ask this question. How do you keep it fun? Like, give me some examples of what you're trying to tell some of your goalies now that is trying to break the boredom.
Simple childhood games. I remember as a kid, you used to throw a ball on the roof and let it roll down and try to catch it, right? That's you're at the end of the day, you're still trying to work on tracking something into your hand. So why not put your goalie glove on and go throw some balls on the roof and catch them that way? I've had one of my goalies tell me that his dad's been shooting those little Nerf round balls at him. So
the rivals, yeah.
Yeah, so you're catching those, right? And a little bit smaller, but coming in just as quick, and they might have a little curve to it, but it's still trying to get those eyes active and trying to keep those eyes, focused on something that's moving at them.
That's actually pretty cool. I'm shooting Nerf guns at my kid. He's not a goaltender, but he's trying to dodge them, that's for sure.
There you go.
In your way, you want to stop them, so you don't want to go in the nets. That's perfect. That's a great idea. Have you ever worked with any of those transition balls that have like different nodes on them and they bounce different ways? And how do you, is that something that you want to work on, your adjustment with your agility and your reaction time?
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's called a reaction ball. It's got those little round knobs on them. Personally, growing up or when I played, that's something that was in my pregame routine, right? Something that you have to you make a quick decision on what hand to use, and whether you have to take that extra little step, you do it. So there's obviously a lot of different ways that you can use that ball. You could, be on your knees kind of in a corner and use the corner as well. to kind of keep you guessing. But yeah, I think that's a great tool that every goaltender should have in their hockey bag, along with racket balls and tennis balls and just things that that could bounce, that can change direction, that are coming at you, that you've got to make a motion to make a simulation of a goalie save.
Is that the main focus, or that a goaltender should have off ice training, is just making sure reaction time isn't getting worse, but only getting better, and it's progressing every time you get yourself in a situation like that?
Yeah, because as soon as you step on the ice, that seems to be the first thing that takes a little bit more time to get, kind of going. I find that, we work our legs, we work, our agility, we work on quickness, explosiveness. That's all there. But as soon as you start shooting a puck at them, then they start, whoa, this is a little different now. So yes, I think keeping your hands moving, keeping your eyes moving with objects that are in motion, right? I think that is very good for something that is not stressful in the body, that can be done all year long.
It isn't very stressful, you're right. It's more quick reaction time. It's simple movements of the hands. I also see a lot of goaltenders using both of their hands, trying to react with different hands, both the glove and the blocker. Is that only just to get with that reaction time, getting the blocker up to the top forms kind of thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's reaction time, just kind of tracking it into where you're wanting it to go. A great solution for that is called blocker sleeve. It's actually something that goes over top of your blocker, and it's got a massive Velcro kind of application that sits on top of the blocker. And you've got your tennis balls. So you're, rather than having to chase the balls, but you're still doing that same motion with that blocker hand and getting that good positioning and seeing where that ball's hitting your blocker if you've got to do any adjustments or whatever.
Perfect. We're going to take a quick break. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to come right back. We're going to talk about flexibility and how important that is to keeping that 6x4 cage covered at all times. We'll be right back. As mentioned with Caisse and Vincent of Top Shelf Goaltending, how much did you like stretching as a netminder?
It was part of it, right? That was
part of it, right? Yeah.
That was the one thing that you cannot get away from. I find that the more you stretch, the better you feel, and then the better you feel on the ice as well, right? I just think it's a great tool that every goaltender should take advantage of, right? It's not something you need. There's nothing else you need. You don't need any piece of equipment. You don't need to buy anything. It's just literally you and your body finding different ways of getting those muscles limber and flexible for when needed, right?
So I want to ask this question to you because it's one of those questions that's often debated: cold stretching versus warm stretching. Making the body warm for a little bit before you get into a full active stress, isometric versus isokinetic stretching, all that. Explain to me how you work with your goaltenders and the importance of the right time to stretch.
I think the biggest thing is when you try to stretch something cold, it's never a good thing, right? Regardless of whether it's your body or a piece of candy. When it's cold, it doesn't stretch. That's just the fact of the matter. So I think it's very important to get that body warm with, some kind of plyometric, some kind of active movement. What I like to do with my kids before any session is run them through a little bit of dynamic stretching, some shuffles, some plyo jump, some skater jumps, some lunges, some butt kicks, something. Those things are very, very simple, but yet they're the ones that warm up our body, I find, in the greatest, most effective way.
For sure. Help me with the importance of the core. Let's move up from the legs into the core area. You see a lot of goaltenders that are now going into I don't want to say a true butterfly, but they're going down to cover a lot of the net, but they sag a little bit. That core's got to be straight up so they cover as much of the net as possible, especially if you're a smaller goaltender, right? Nobody's built 6'5" all the time. I'm not 6'5". I don't think you're 6'5" as well. So, I mean, you got to look as big as you can, right? And the core helps out with that.
Absolutely. And the thing with that as well is legs. I think if we have a strong core leg combo, quad, that helps us stay up and stay nice and tall. I find kids that don't have a whole lot of strength, what they'll do is they'll end up sagging. So when they do make a save, it's their butt touches the ice. So one thing that I like to tell my goalies is I don't want to see any snow on your butt after we're done practice, right? That just ensures me that you're engaging your core, you're staying nice and big, and you're covering as much net as you can. But yeah, I think core is another great tool that we can do at home, right? And it's not about sit-ups, it's not about crunches, it's not about the things that you see on the bodybuilders, the way they do it, right? Us, it's more strengthening but holding, right? I think a fact of we're in our knees a lot, so we don't need that six-pack. We need the endurance and the strength of a core to help us maximize just our abilities on our knees and moving around on the ice.
I always tell people, the kids I used to work with, the core on a map was only a 2D picture. It's what you saw on the piece of paper, but a core was just like a tree. It's got 4 sides to it, and it's a very important part of the body. And I'm pretty sure you have plank competitions of some sort to test the goaltender's strength to make sure that they can keep that plane as much as possible. And it's the same way if it's gravity or not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I played, I think one of my biggest issues was I had back issues. So I struggled a lot with just my back just acting up. But now that I've gotten a little bit older, you become a little bit wiser, and you kind of understand, okay, yeah, this is a little bit more of what I need to do. I need to work a little bit more on this and less on that. So it's to try to find that even keel of what your body needs, because my body does not need the same thing as the next goalie, or the next goalie doesn't need the same thing as a 12-year-old. So it's to try to find that good little even balance in what the kid needs, what the goaltender needs to be successful.
Have you been able to set up a program for these youngsters? You mentioned legs and cores for your goalies to be doing at home, or is it something that they try to find on their own?
No, typically if they reach out, I definitely provide them with whatever they need. But the benefit of being at Sweaty Fitness, now we have Jeff there to help with that. If kids want that full-fledged workout, there's also very good companies online that provide exceptional workouts, specifically for goaltenders, because I think we think that we can train the same way as a defenseman, and it's completely different. We need to focus on other things. It's not about upper body strength and pushing guys out of the way, or us. It's more about our legs being able to hold a certain position for a certain amount of time and being able to explode when needed.
You mentioned that you're a different type of player. We'll get to that in our third segment, difference between goaltenders and defensemen and out players. I have to ask you, when it comes to the importance of being game ready, fitness ready, physical ready, where is it that you see the potential of injury occurring for players, especially goaltenders?
You know what? It's tough to say, because, for instance, myself, when I played, it was my knees. My knees always caused me issues. I strained my MCL probably a total of 7 times throughout my career. So is that something that I could have prepared differently? Maybe. But I think that all comes with just the way, your body works, the way you squat, the way, if you don't, when I worked out, it wasn't the same as a kid that works out now. You know, the NHL guys they're watched on video and they're told, okay, you need a little more of this. So, you know, they're more fine-tuned athletes. As for when we played, it was more, are you in shape? You know, you get on the ice maybe 2-3 weeks before training camp and head to training camp. So, but now kids are training so much longer throughout the summer and the spring and fall. You know, it almost seems like it's a year-round thing. But my biggest thing when I speak to my goaltenders is rest. Your body needs rest. Those hips, those knees, those groins go up and down, up and down, up and down throughout practice. And I had actually read an article about just the wear and tear that hips are getting from goaltenders, right? They're trying to minimize the amount of times they go down in practice. They're trying to minimize the amount of, extensions, knee extensions, those sort of things. They want to try to limit the amount of, just like a pitcher. You know, a pitcher is only allowed to throw so many pitches. You know, they watch their pitches. Okay, well, he got 100 pitches. Well, maybe we should start thinking about pulling them out. But a goalie, in practice, he faces between 300 and 400 shots. So now you're looking at a goalie that goes down, let's say, 3/4 of those shots. Now and that's almost every day. So it adds up. And my thing is, your body needs rest.
So on that note, when you say the body needs rest, we've got sports nowadays that are a 12-month focus. We've got preseason and off-season campaigns and programs that are sports specified. How do you also explain, or how do you help a student or a future goaltender to explain to them the importance of cross-training and playing other sports, not only to keep yourself fresh, but potentially open yourself up to better coordination or better, hand-eye, better function away from the sport when you're not really thinking about being a goaltender?
I encourage that 100%. I encourage my goalies to find another sport throughout the summer. I don't want to see you again till June. I think June's a good starting point for goaltender. I don't want to see you every day either. I want you to be out. I want you to go ride your bike. I want you to, just be a kid, because, once you get into the real serious stuff, that's when you put everything else aside and you really plug in and give it your all. I'm not saying that as a kid you don't give it your all, but as a kid, you still need to enjoy the game. As for when you get older, the game becomes almost more of a business. So you become a businessman day in and day out. As for a kid, be a kid, enjoy life, be active, find yourself hobbies. I think hockey is it becomes a job sometimes, because at the end of the day, it might become a source of income, right? So when it becomes a source of income, yes, it's still fun, but at the end of the day, it's a job that provides, right? So I encourage my kids, have fun with it, take your time off, or your baseball. I don't want you to be back catcher, because when you come back to me, I've got to fix that whole catching a puck thing. So I said, no, enough with being back catchers. But no, have fun. Be a kid, have fun. Now our summer is going to be even longer, so it's going to be, find yourself a real good hobby.
There it is. We'll come back to our next segment with Guy St. Vincent from Top Shelf Goaltending. We'll talk about the dying question that every player can't figure out, is why are goaltenders so different? St. Vincent, the million-dollar question: why are goaltenders so different? I love scoring. I know you're a goaltender. I loved rifling pucks everywhere, shape, or form. Had a lot of success scoring a lot of goals in my career. But when it came to talking to a goalie during a game or during a practice or when they're quote-unquote in the zone, why don't you talk to them? Why don't you bug them? Why are goalies the way they are?
I don't know. It just, you have to get into that special zone to be able to kind of make the best out of it. I really don't know. You hear it all the time. Goalies are weird. Goalies are weird. I think really you have to be a little strange to be able to play the position, right? I really, you have to have some kind of drive inside of you to, be able to fail at a drop of a dime, but be successful, on the flip side. So it's to have your energy, I think, try to stay even keel, that sort of way. Now, why are goalies different? It is what it is. I don't know what it is. I can't put anything on it other than you have to be a little bit crazy to get fired at you.
So, you being the crazy goaltender, did you have certain superstitions growing up, or is it something you discuss with your goalies you work with? I mean, you look, for example, Connor Hellebuck and his flickering eye thing where he tracks things with his eyes, and you see goaltenders coming over to the bench during timeouts and nobody goes near them, whether it's a shutout or not. You just don't say a darn word to a goalie. What did you do when you were growing up that you kind of emulate or pass along to your young clients you work with?
I think for me, it started right first thing in the morning when I headed off for practice or for pregame skate. It was go there, feel the puck, have fun. That was my time to kind of mingle with the guys. They knew that when Guy was playing, they knew that, okay, he'll be active. He'll talk to us during pregame skate. They didn't really, it's not that they didn't really challenge me, but they knew that I need to feel the puck rather than them going, cross crease or back bar or whatever it may be. They understood kind of how I like to play things. Had my lunch or my pregame skate or pregame dinner, went home, watched a little bit of TV, and I used to always sit down and play a little bit of Xbox. It was just something that would settle me down, just relax me, take my mind off the game, just literally relax my entire body, and then I would go for a nap. And then after my nap, it was don't talk to me. Don't talk to me until after the game. My mom and dad knew that growing up, and my roommates knew that growing up. My wife knew that. She kind of, fell into my middle of my career. She kind of understood, oh, wow, he doesn't talk on game days. So something that I did, I think was the biggest thing is I didn't talk to a whole lot of people. Even when I got to the rink, my headphones were on. I went and kind of did my stall, got everything ready that way, and then started my routine, whether it was juggling, run, a little bit of running, a good amount of stretching, and just sitting in my stall and just kind of getting ready, mentally focused for the task at hand, right?
So has it changed much since you've left the net professionally to what kids are doing and working on today?
Yeah, I think kids are not, what I feel is kids are not being as creative. I never had anybody tell me what to do. I never had anybody say, hey, Guy, you should try this, or hey, you do this. It was more of that's something that I felt I became successful by doing. There was some days that, I didn't feel like doing that, or some days that, no, let's do a little bit something different. But I always came back to what worked. I never tried to change anything a whole lot. But I find kids seem to not want to be creative. They'd rather sit in the dressing room and shoot the breeze with the boys or their teammates or whoever it may be, rather than stepping away from them, being on your own. Because really, at the end of the day, you're isolated in your net. You don't come out and mingle with them, right? You're in your own little world. So why not start it before you get on the ice?
So with that being said, obviously we're all isolated now. Clearly some goaltenders will be able to say a little bit more once they get out of this. What has been going on top shelf goaltending wise Are we still, have we moved into a new facility? We've mentioned we were working in conjunction with another group. Tell me what's going on with you professionally, and then how potentially new clients, new goaltenders can get involved with you once this isolation gets lifted.
So we moved into our new facility in Steinbach. I was approached by Jeff from Sweaty Fitness, and they were getting into a new building. So he asked if I would want to move over and join kind of what they had going. There was the blue chip treadmill training. Jeff is the fitness guy, and then they wanted someone else to kind of fill in the building. So we went ahead and moved into there. We now have 1,200 square feet of synthetic ice, probably the best synthetic ice out there for goaltenders. We have 2 creases, so we have the ability of working with 2 goaltenders at the same time, which we do once in a while when people inquire about it. But we do mainly one-on-one on our ice. It's a great facility. I don't know. I find it to be more of a hockey environment with everything else being surrounded around us. We're right off of Main Street in Steinbach. You can't miss us. It's a great location. Traffic can get to us maybe a little bit easier on where we are. So it's just been, I think, a good move. I think it was to the point where Top Shelf needed to expand some way. So I think this was for the best of our, as Top Shelf, and being able to accommodate more goaltenders, more associations, whatever it may be. We just feel that we can do a little bit more now.
Social media is a big clutch move for Top Shelf. You guys are on Facebook. I've seen some of the work on there. What sets you aside from not potentially other companies or other programs, but what is you have a huge passion because you are a fellow goaltender. How would you express that to parents saying that they need, some sort of secondary teaching that's going to help their son or daughter continue to evolve as being a great goalie?
My theory behind goalie training is I'm not there to reinvent the wheel. The wheel's already been invented. Now it's to plug into that wheel and make that wheel turn by having good basic training, understanding the basics of being a goaltender. I don't need to teach you the RVHs and stuff like that. Yeah, I might explain it to you. I'm not going to show you how it's done right away. I need you to focus on making a proper stick save, tracking a puck, embracing a chest save, understanding that our chest need, just the fine details of goaltending before we get into the more critical and deeper aspect of goaltending. At Top Shelf, we're not there to reinvent a goaltender as well. You come to us and we work with what you have. You will have tools and we will try to sharpen those tools to make you better. And that's kind of been my approach with dealing with goaltenders that I've seen other goalie coaches, is I'm not there to undo what they've done. I'm there to maybe better what they've done, fine tune what they've done. And at the end of the day, I'm still learning as well, right? Because in the sport of hockey, and especially in the specific position of goaltending, it evolves every single time you step on the ice. So it's great to see goaltenders that come out from other, facilities or training places or whatever it may be, because they might teach something that I might not be aware of. And, I might teach something that they might not be aware of. So it's just a matter of trying to share the information in a positive way to goaltenders, for them to understand and for them to be able to use it in an easy way. Because at the end of the day, we're not on their shoulders when they're in the net. They're on their own, right? So I like to troubleshoot a lot with goaltenders. I like to question them a lot in the aspect of, what would you do here? Why did that happen? What can you do to fix it? How would you fix it? And it almost becomes almost a class time of, let's troubleshoot stuff. I want to see where your mind's at. I want to see if you can, troubleshoot yourself. I want to see if you can figure it out yourself. And if you can't, then I've got to find a way to help you be able to do that.
No, it's very well said. From a goaltender speaking to other goaltenders, I think that choose be a huge dividend in a resource because you've been there, you've done that, you've worn the jersey. Guy, is there anything else you'd like to mention to current and future netminders that might be working with you before we say goodbye?
I'm looking forward every single day to getting back to doing what I do. I absolutely love what I do, and I think kids understand that. Kids feel it when they come and see me. I treat them as my own. I don't. You're not a number. I'll hopefully remember your name. I do see a lot of names and a lot of kids, but I take pride in working with these kids. I take pride in having them successful. I try to set them ahead of my needs because at the end of the day, they're the ones that need to get better. I'm done. I play for fun now. So really, at the end of the day, it's all for them. I get better as a goalie coach for them. I watch video for them. Everything I do is for them, and I just want them to know that I haven't forgotten about them, and I can't wait for them to be able to come back to our facility and start getting back to work.
Right off Main Street, brand new facility in Steinbach, top shelf goaltending. Caisse St. Vincent, thanks for joining me on the ice this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing this isolation lift occur sooner than later so we can all get back onto ice or synthetic ice ASAP. Thanks very much, Guy.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.